JBN, we keep you informed. Body of a taxi driver found in burnt-out vehicle in St. Elizabeth. An investigation has been launched after the remains of a taxi operator were discovered inside his burnt-out vehicle in Crawford, St. Elizabeth Tuesday evening. He has been identified as Teddy Clark, who was believed to be in his late 20s. Passers-by saw Mr. Clark's vehicle in bushes shortly after 6 o'clock. Suspected suicide in Palmer's Cross, Clarendon. A 54-year-old man is suspected to have committed suicide by using his own licensed gun to shoot himself in the head in Palmer's Cross, Clarendon on Tuesday. Dead is businessman Merrick Levy. Levy is from Old Harbour, St. Catherine. He was found in the back of his Toyota Crown motor car shortly after 10 on Tuesday morning. His licensed Eckler and Koch semi-automatic pistol is believed to be the weapon used. It was handed over to the police by family members. 186 years total for men convicted in beheading case. The 4 men convicted of the 2011 murders of a St. Catherine mother and her daughter have been slapped with life sentences. Adrian Campbell and Fabian Smith were each ordered to serve 44 years before being eligible for parole, while Russian Golson must serve a minimum of 46 years. The 4th man, Cameron Riley, who was convicted after a 3-week trial, will become eligible for parole after 52 years. On July 20, 2011, the men armed with guns and machetes kicked in the front and the back door to the Lauriston St. Catherine house, where Charmaine Coverachi, 40, and her 18-year-old daughter Joyce Lynch resided. The women, who were in bed at the time, were chopped and shot multiple times by the men and subsequently beheaded. The heads were discarded but were later recovered. Robberies spiked to pay lawyers of jailed criminals, says Security Minister. Some of the major armed robberies that have occurred across sections of Jamaica in recent months have been driven by criminals seeking to secure funds to pay legal fees for their cronies nabbed by the police. This was disclosed by Minister of National Security Dr. Chang yesterday at a press briefing at Jamaica House, called to update Jamaicans about changes to the Noise Abatement Act. Responding to a question about Tuesday night's attack in Dover District near Kitson Town, St. Catherine, that left 4 dead and 5 injured, Chang acknowledged that there have been slight increases in homicides and shootings across the island. But he said at the same time, the police have intensified their crackdown on criminals, which has resulted in more perpetrators being arrested and placed before the courts. According to Chang, criminals have turned to more armed robberies to get money to help pay for legal representation for those in custody. The Security Minister declined to disclose further details about the activities. Criminal matters in Jamaica can take months, even years, before being settled, and accused persons can rack up high legal costs. 62 fishers from Treasure Beach lost at sea. For residents of Treasure Beach in St. Elizabeth, it is not a matter of if, but when the next fisherman from their community will be taking his last voyage out to sea. The community has lost 62 fishers to date, but the sea remains a gold mine of the popular village's economy, as those who continue to cast their nets out in the deep accept their uncertain fate. Led by the Greater Treasure Beach Citizens Alert Group, a monument called Lost to the Sea was recently erected to pay homage to residents who met their demise out at sea. But while 62 names have been deemed lost from the mid-1900s, empty slots were also slotted, awaiting the inevitable. It will not stop. The dangers are real, said former fisherman and group treasurer Hersey Maxim, otherwise called Uncle Ball. When we go out on the seas, there's no guarantee that we're going to return, so there's a lot of risk involved. The families of every fisherman know the risk, but it is a risk worth taking, as fishing is what puts food on their tables and send their children to school. While some have been confirmed or lost by drowning, others might have encountered other man-made dangers on the high seas, such as armed robberies. It is an assumption, said Uncle Ball. We don't have any documentary evidence, but it is a fair assumption. Uncle Ball was 22 years old when his father lost his life aboard a vessel called Snowboy, which sank on its way to the Pedro Keys. There were 41 men aboard, many of them from Treasure Beach. I was on the Pedro Keys waiting for the Snowboy to come from the main. We waited and waited. The weather was bad and then we got the news, he said reluctantly. My father was a good man who ensured that I and my 9 siblings were provided for. That was 1963, and while many have lost their lives since, including other relatives, the memory of that fateful day has lingered in Uncle Ball's mind. The monument serves to remind us of our folks, to honor their lives. It is one of the best things to happen to Treasure Beach, he said. It offers a sense of closure, something to show our children and grandchildren. According to Estelle Banks, president of the Greater Treasure Beach Citizens Alert Group, plans are now in place to raise funds to protect the revered site. We'll be erecting a fence to preserve it from vandalism, and we'll be approaching private sector interests in joining us to complete this project, Banks said. Yet, Treasure Beach is not the only fishing village that experiences such unfortunate incidents, but it is the first to honor the lost. But for a few, the monument is a source of pain, especially those partners who continue to struggle to make ends meet, having lost their sole support. It has been hard since my common-law husband left and did not return, said one woman who declined to reveal her name. Persons in Treasure Beach don't know how tough it has been for me, but the support has been tremendous. I experience mixed feelings when I see the monument, but erecting this monument is a great achievement and it is a source of healing. Uncle Ball is encouraging fisher folk to ensure that they have proper equipment before taking to the seas, such as phones, GPS, a spare engine, and other vital necessities. With the fishing industry now under threat, and with its banks overfished, many seamen in Treasure Beach have been dabbling in farming as a secondary source of income. However, they are hopeful that the government will take steps to protect the sector and not treat it with scant regard. Move to criminalize the tipping off of suspects. A recommendation is to be made to Parliament to criminalize the act of alerting suspects that are under scrutiny. The Joint Select Committee reviewing the 2014 Criminal Justice Suppression of Criminal Organization Act, also called the Anti-Gang Law, on Tuesday agreed to include the recommendation in its report to the House of Representatives. The recommendation was made by St. Andrews Southern Member of Parliament Mark Golding and is supported by Justice Minister Delroy Chalk. The members further proposed that if the person who commits the tipping off offense is in a position of trust, this is to be construed as an aggravating factor for which the court could escalate penalties. The original proposal from the National Security Ministry was that there should be an additional term of imprisonment of 10 years for people in positions of power, such as law enforcement, members of the judiciary, and the political directorate. But members argued against naming particular categories of persons in the law. I am wondering why it shouldn't just apply to everybody. Why carve out politicians and others? Why not everybody who tip off gangs that there is an impending law enforcement operation? I don't see the need to get into contentious groups of persons. It should be across the board, Golding said. Minister Chalk agreed. Let tipping off be the aggravating offense. If the person is in a position of authority, then the judge would use his or her discretion to impose a higher sentence. Just make it a significant penalty for tipping off, Chalk said. National Security Minister and Chairman of the committee, Dr. Horace Chang, said he was in favor of increasing the penalty because stiffer fines could be a deterrent to anyone who is involved in tipping off gangs. Meanwhile, the proposal for anonymity to be granted to witnesses in gang-related cases was again a point of discussion during the meeting. State Minister for Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, Orlando Terrelong, cautioned against any move to prevent an accused person from knowing the identity of their accusers once a case goes to court. The matter was previously raised in February at a meeting of the committee, where the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, DPP, proposed that a provision should be included in the anti-gang law to this effect. At the time, Senior Deputy DPP Jeremy Taylor said lack of anonymity often hamstrings proceedings in murder cases after the police take statements from witnesses, but at trial, witnesses often back out when they realize their identities have to be revealed. An accused person has the right to know the person who has accused him or her, so for us to be saying anything other than that, I don't think it would be fair, whether in law, in principle, or otherwise. It would erode every single thing to have a trial and the accused doesn't know the name or identity of the accuser, Terrelong stressed. He also insisted that if such a move is being contemplated, the Jamaica Bar Association must be advised and given an opportunity to make a submission. Again, I must caution such legislation. There are things that will happen in terms of travesty of justice, and we must always be mindful of the little boy and the little girl who, because of their civic address, certain allegations can be made willy-nilly at times, and they should have a right to know who is accusing them so that they can properly prepare their defense, he stated. Dr. Chang noted that it is for this reason that the Ministry of Justice is pursuing a comprehensive piece of legislation to deal exclusively with the issue of witness anonymity. However, he said that while the rights of individuals have to be protected from malicious accusations, in particular cases, witness anonymity is necessary. That's the reality of it. I will never prosecute any of them, Chang said. The committee is scheduled to reconvene on January 21 when it is expected to finalize the report. Chang warns of consequences for persons who breach relaxed noise abatement restrictions. National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang is warning that there will be repercussions when the Noise Abatement Act is reviewed if entertainment promoters breach the temporary ease in restrictions. The House of Representatives on Tuesday night approved an amendment to the Noise Abatement Act, which allows persons 2 more hours to have public events, such as parties, meetings, or church events. Dr. Chang said the level of compliance will be critical when a comprehensive review of the relaxed measure is carried out. If they take advantage of this particular regulation and operate in a civil manner, it will be much easier to do the comprehensive review and to get the message across that Jamaicans can cooperate with public order and recognize the rights of everyone. If it is abused, it will be a lot more difficult to go beyond that, he declared. Parties are usually only allowed to go until midnight on weekdays and 2 o'clock on weekends. However, with the ease regulations, events are being allowed to go until 2 a.m. on weekdays and 4 a.m. on weekends. The measure will remain in place until January 31. In the meantime, Entertainment Minister Olivia Grange said her ministry is working to complete the build-out of the entertainment zone in Fort Rocky in Port Royal by February next year. She said the entertainment zone is among several others to be established, including in Negril, St. Anne, and Trelawney. JBN, we keep you informed. Please remember to like, subscribe, share, leave us a comment, and click the notification bell to receive our daily news items.